So Kristin shares throughout this episode, she shares her top 5 plus-size performers from TV. I'm going to go ahead and share my favorite characters from TV as well. I'm going to start back in the day. Whenever I was a kid, there was one performance that really meant a lot to me whenever I watched, and that was Khadijah James over on Living Single. I loved that show, and coming into it, I didn't really know who Queen Latifa was because I wasn't big into rap, but I was big into Kim Fields because I did watch Take the Good, You Take the Bad, You Take It All, now you have the facts of life. So I knew who Tootie was. But whenever I started watching Living Single, like Khadijah was just, she was smart, she was strong, she knew what was up, she ran her own business. Like she was a boss, but she was also sexy. And I loved that she was a plus size woman that was sexy, but like classy and like funny. Khadijah James just checks every box when it comes to a badass plus size character. So I'm going to go ahead and start with her. And then for number 2, I'm going to go ahead and go with Mindy Lahiri. I love the Mindy Project. I love a narcissistic character. I do. I know. I do. Especially whenever they start their story and like you see how spoiled they are and then you get to see them grow. I absolutely love that. And so, Mindy Kaling, kudos to you. I love the writing. I think the show is so funny. I think Mindy she's so strong. She's so smart. She's funny. She loves to be glamorous. She likes to make fun of herself. She's a little bit of everything. And I know that Mindy's not like a ridiculous plus size, but she is plus size. Like she's considered, she's probably like a size 10, which is considered plus size. And the fact that the way that they wrote the story and the character's journey, it wasn't always about weight, but they threw weight in there. And I appreciated that. So I'm going to go ahead and go with Mindy Lahiri because I love Mindy Kaling. And I just think that show is so much fun. And then number 3, I'm going to go with Taystee, y'all. Taystee for Orange is the New Black. I mean, I got to give a shout out because I do love the other girls as well. Like that whole show is just like, if we were talking about best ensemble shows, that one would be like at the top of the list. Like it's just such an amazing show. But yeah, I'm going to go with Danielle Brooks. Oh my God. Taystee is such a rich character, and where you get to see her journey go. And Danielle's acting is just so incredibly powerful and strong and funny and like a little bit of everything. She's just so talented, and that performance of Taystee was just like you either knew a girl like Taystee or you wanted to have a friend like her, or you were her, in certain moments, like you really resonated with her, and it was because of the amazing acting and the great writing. And I'm a huge fan of Danielle Brooks. Come on the show. So then I'm going to go ahead and go to number 4. So I decided to choose Aidy Bryant on SNL. When I was a kid, I wanted to be on SNL like so fucking bad. Like that was the goal, that was the dream. And then I moved to New York and I started taking improv classes, and I started like meeting people, and I started like trying to get in that pocket of how do you get there? I haven't gotten there. Maybe someday, but I think that ship probably sailed. Considering the fact that I'm 900 years old, I think it sailed. Anyway, I love what Aidy Bryant brings to the show. I remember the first time it was like one of her first episodes, and I was watching with my roommate, and I was like, she was doing some physical comedy, which I fucking love physical comedy. And I know a lot of people sometimes get a little like, oh, you just make the fat person like fall and it's funny. And I'm like, when physical comedy's done right, it don't matter what the size is. It's just funny. Physical comedy's funny. I love physical comedy. And of course, like if we're diving into that, we could talk about Melissa McCarthy and Rebel Wilson and stuff. Although sometimes it does become a joke, like just like the fat joke. But then sometimes it's like, yeah, she's just rough. And I love it. Anyway, so back to Aidy Bryant. You guys, I love her performances, whether she's doing Adele, Hello from the Other Side, or Tinkerbell. She manages to do the matronly, which sometimes you gotta pay to play. You gotta do whatever you're doing. She'll do the matronly, and then she'll do like the super sexy with Lizzo. Like, she's got such versatility, and kudos to SNL for embracing that and bringing on a plus size girl. I really love it. And the fifth person on this list is Lali Adefope. I love her as Fran in Shrill. Love her. I want her to be my best friend / girlfriend / my everything. Love her. I love her, and I love the dynamics between her and Annie on Shrill. I think that she's just the quintessential best friend who also has their own strong storyline. I can't wait to see what happens for the third and final season of the show. So yeah, that show is going to be ending in May. I'm super bummed about it, but Lali, she'll be around. She's an amazing UK comedian and comedic actress, and I'm just such a fan, and I can't wait to see more stuff coming from her. So that is my list. Those are my 5 characters that are female characters, actors that I wanted to talk about. So let's go ahead and dive in. Let's talk about Kristin. Let's see what she's got to say. I am so excited. I loved having her on the show. I love her to bits. So let's bring her out.
Okay, so I have a list. This was actually really hard to come up with. And I had to really think, because it, you know, as an actor and just as a woman in this world, just what is out there, you know, you've created these body positive shows. Mm-hmm. And so I really wanted a list that it was women, these characters that transcended just the box, you know, mm-hmm. that you tend to get stuck into. Mm-hmm. So I didn't rank them. I refuse to do that because I think they're all amazing.
God, I love that.
I'm not ranking them.
Cool.
But I do have a list. So I'll just go down. I'll start with number 1. Sookie St. James from Gilmore Girls, as played by Melissa McCarthy. I have to preface this with Gilmore Girls, I very much enjoy. I very much enjoyed it as a kid or when I was younger. It does have some, unfortunately, fat-phobic, fat-shamey type stuff in it. Yeah. But the character of Sookie never had any of that. Her character was not about her weight. She was just a badass woman. She was a chef. She dealt with food, so she was around food all the time, but it wasn't a thing. There was nothing that was ever mentioned about her weight. You just got to see her as a fully realized woman trying to run a business, be a chef, like have her own, you know, issues, you know, finding love and having a baby and dealing with all of that, and just being a friend and an all-around amazing person. She was more than just the box, as I call it. So, yeah.
The box. Go on. What is the box? What is just like box you speak of?
It's the box that you get put into, you know, where these characters where you're just about your weight. You know, it's what is your objective? It's to lose weight. It's to find love as a big girl or whatever it is. You know, that's what a lot of these characters are. Or, you know, they don't have the confidence. They're always, you know, moping. And yeah, that can be a part of it, but that's a part of it for everyone. But we all have so many colors, and you don't always get to see that on TV. And I feel like Sookie was the first real big example that I saw of a fully realized human being who happened to be in a larger body.
I love that. Okay. So that is the first example. We won't say number 1 on your list. We'll say first example. Okay. What's the second example of it?
One actress is playing both of these roles.
Oh.
It's a twofer. So it's Retta, who I love.
Oh yeah. Yes, I love her.
And then her Donna on Parks and Rec, and Ruby on Good Girls. I don't know if you watch Good Girls.
Yeah, I like Good Girls a lot. Yeah. I love Parks and Rec.
Yeah. But you know, you get to see her as Donna, which is, you know, the treat yourself moment. And you don't mess with Donna. Like, Donna runs it all. She's got the power, and she's funny, and she's fierce, and she's hot. And then as Ruby on Good Girls, she's got a lot going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's again, like, her weight is never mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
She is just a badass woman. Again, this is like a theme for me. Badass women living their lives. She's a complex woman, a complex character. She does, she has a family, and she's got all these issues, and she's trying to do her best.
Mm-hmm.
And her weight has nothing to do with it.
I love that. I love that. Okay. What's your third example?
Annie on Shrill.
Aidy
Bryant.
Her.
Yeah. So, what are your feelings? What are your feelings on Shrill?
I love Shrill.
Yeah.
I love Shrill. I gotta tell you, the pool scene where all the big girls were at a pool made me so fucking happy. I started crying.
Same.
I loved it. I was like, oh my God, there's so many girls that look like me on screen right now. Their suits are cute. They're embracing each other. Like, this is just cool as fuck.
They're confident.
I love it.
They're living their best lives.
Yeah.
That episode is just amazing TV. Yeah.
I love that episode. I love her storyline. I love complex characters, and I love flawed characters, and I love a little bit of a storyline of being about, being fat, and then the troll thing going in there, and then choosing the wrong guy. I love a story about choosing the wrong guy. I'm always hooked on that.
That's the one thing that I have about Shrill is the guy, because I'm like, let's see like better representation of these relationships. Why does she have to have this jerk, who's a fantastic actor and I'm sure a lovely human being, but I'm like, oh no, why? You deserve better.
I root for him.
Let's get there.
I root for him because I also look at him like a complex character of just being, fucking trying. And I think in a 4-season arc, we can see something, the growth. So maybe I kind of look at it from a few different areas of it. And I want to root for him. I want in the following season, no spoiler alerts for everyone, but like there's a great essence of that chemistry of what these two characters are great with. But then there's also the shit you have to deal with. Is it a toxic relationship? Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that
like
mean
the issue?
Yeah. And I've been in a fuckload of toxic relationships, so
I'm sure
I like seeing them on screen. It's so much more interesting than just if everything was perfect there, what else would the storyline be? So
you make good points. The one thing that I would say is I just want women to know that you are not a rehab facility for these men.
Yes. But I think the show is trying to show that, especially with this last season of her being like, I don't have to do this.
Yeah.
I choose me.
For sure.
And I love that journey. I love that the writers gave that to us, because we are kind of like, wait, what's happening? Wait, oh God, no, you should go. You should go. And then she does. It's like, that's so realistic.
You have this amazing power and passion inside of you, and you're figuring shit out, and then you've got that. So that was like my one thing with Shrill, but I'm on it for the journey. And that pool party episode, so good. I ended up doing
and the best friend, the relationship between her and the best friend. Yes. And I love the development of the best friend and her non-binary partner. Like, I love the whole show. Oh my God. And John Cameron Mitchell. Oh my God. Like, I can't. And her friend at work, like, just everything.
I know.
I love that show. I love that show so much. I can't wait for season 3 in May.
I know. In the final season. It's sad.
Oh, so it's a 3-season arc. I'm very excited to see what they're going to do. My question is, do you think he's gone to therapy and he's tried working on himself?
I hope so.
I'm going to put $1 down.
I hope
this is my bet.
I hope that Lindy West would not let us down on this one.
I mean that, or she just gives him, there's a completely different, he's not the end game. I mean, it's set up like he's the end game.
Right.
And so either we get to see that personal development, that growth in the character, which, I mean, we all want an underdog to work out, but if sometimes it doesn't. And I also love that twist. So either way, I'm going to be tuning
I will
in.
be there for it. I will be there
Yeah.
for it. I'm looking forward to getting through COVID and being able to have another. I did a fat girl pool party in real life.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So I found this on Instagram again. I love me some Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Fat Girls Dance in Harlem, and it was
Uh-huh.
amazing. We would go Monday nights and dance, and it was just like a body positive, wonderful environment. And I met a wonderful group of women through that. And we rented a pool right outside the city. And we went and we had our own version of the Fat Girl Pool Party. And it was so much fun. It was the party that I wish that I had as a kid, where you just feel comfortable and amazing. Yeah.
I love that so much. Next time you go to one, will you let me know? Can I go?
Absolutely. I didn't know you at
Okay.
that time, but I will.
Okay. Okay, cool. That sounds amazing. Oh, I love that. I love that. Okay. So example 4.
Carmen from Glow, Brittany Young.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Brittany Young. I'm so
Yeah.
bummed that they canceled the
I
final
know that
the
it got
final
COVID
season.
canceled. That makes me so sad.
It really does. I wanted a completion there.
Yeah, that's such a good show. And it just gave you, it gave you such diversity in terms of bodies and just representation and everything. And then you have Carmen, who's amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
she is the one that knows what she's doing. She's the one teaching the others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just amazing that she was able to come in with that power, and you see her gain the confidence. And she's more than just her weight. That's not her storyline. Like, it was a tiny bit of her, but you see her really come into her own and just really own it, which has been wonderful.
Oh my God, I love that. I love that. I want more Brittany in the world.
Oh yeah,
I love her on Instagram. She's great.
she's a delight.
Dare I ask about 5? Yes.
So Paula from Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, Donna Lynn Champlin.
Good one. Very good one.
Yes. I realize that a lot of these are very recent examples, but I feel like we've come into our own recently. We're not there yet, but there's so many amazing examples out there in recent TV history. Let's celebrate them. And Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, love her, love that show, love the fact of how they covered mental health.
Love how they went about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and Paula is just a great character. You see her on the journey from she lacked boundaries. She was doing everything for everyone else, and she wasn't happy in her own life. And she finally realized, I need to go do my own thing. And she did. And it was just a fun journey to watch her, but she was still the supportive, loving character that, you loved at the beginning, too.
Yeah, they
Like
did
the
such
ride
a
or
great
die.
job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, what a great list. I love your list so much. I just love it. If anything, I would say you forgot Emmy Hart. She's not on there. In this tiny little show no one's heard of or seen, called The Art of Blowing It, starring Joshua R. Pangborn and a bunch of other people that are plus size. I really love the characters. One person gets called fat in the whole show, and it's actually the character I I play, calls someone else fat. And she does it in this way of like, oh yeah, well, you got fat. And it's like such a 1980s cliche, and that's why I put it in there. And that's the only time there's a mention of someone's weight in the entire show. And I just thought it's so funny.
You're a delight in everything I've seen, but in that show, you've got like such a fun spirit about you. You can tell that you're just having a blast. So yes, of course.
We had a really good time. I'm currently writing season 2, and so I'm trying to, like, I have my outline. I've written 2 drafts of the first 2 episodes, and it's finding its way. It's getting to where it's getting to, and it's so cool. And it's so interesting because as a plus size creator, like, one of the things that I want to do is I want to be mindful of, the world that we live in. And I want to be mindful of course, representation. And of course, you know, how is it serving the story? How am I developing the characters to be in this world? But they're also super short episodes.
Yeah.
And so there's so many things that kind of go into it. And I think I'm just trying to I want to serve the story as best as I possibly can. And I don't want to diminish people in any way. But then there's also a piece of me that's like, someone's got to be bad on the show. Like, someone's got to be bad. Someone has to be bad or it's not interesting. Someone has to be bad. Yeah. And so there's also that. And but it's so interesting because especially in this day and age, like everything gets fucking lamp ring under a lamp ring with a microscope and the whole nine. And it's just like,
yeah.
And it's interesting because even like with Gilmore Girls, as you were saying, you know, there were a few fat jokes in it and stuff, which the first thing that pops in my head is like, it was such a different time. Like it was just, and I'm not saying so we have to forgive it. I'm just saying it was a different time period at the end of the sentence. Like it was just a different time. Like,
yeah, no.
And sometimes looking at some of the stuff in the 90s, it's just like, yep.
It doesn't age well. It does not age well. Yeah.
It doesn't. It doesn't. And I guess my question for you there would be, have you noticed in some of the shows that you've watched, after rewatching, does it make you kind of want to take it off? Let's say you had it on a mantle in your head of like, oh, what a great show. And then you watch it again and you're like, oh, nope, that didn't age well. That didn't age well. That didn't age well. Do you take it off the shelf? Or do you kind of leave it there because you're like, you know what? It was great at the time, may not age completely well, but it's still got great pieces in it. Where do you stand with that?
I think it depends on the situation and the product and, you know, what my connection is to it. I still love Gilmore Girls. I watched the Netflix season that everyone is divided on whether they enjoyed it or not. Wish that
I had fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It wasn't like perfect, but it was nice. And I obviously wish that Sookie had been able to show up, that Melissa had been able to work it out. But no, I mean, I don't think that I write. It depends on what it is, honestly. I would say there's other things that I would probably cancel sooner than stuff like that. Like I can't, well, this is a very different segue, but like Woody Allen, I can't watch his stuff.
Yeah.
That's just like a whole different thing.
Yeah.
But stuff like this where it's like, well, that was a different time. It just depends. It depends on how blatant it is, how bad the jokes are now. If there's like an emotional connection to it. Because there's definitely things that, you know, you fell in love with as a kid and then you watch it later and you're like, well, that doesn't hold up very well right now. But there's still a part of you that remembers how you felt originally watching it. And so there's like a soft spot in your heart. You might not watch it again, but there's like a memory of what it did for you at that point in time in your life. So
beautifully put. I was looking at Instagram and there was this post once and it like broke it down as to why rewatching something from your youth brings you more comfort than watching something for the first time. And like one of the reasons is because your brain doesn't have to focus as much. And so you actually can relax more while you're watching it. And I was like, that's great. And what you were mentioning as well, this is piggybacking on what you were saying. Like it totally makes sense because I've rewatched a few things during the pandemic and I'm like, on certain parts, but then overall I'm like, hey guys, hey, how are you? Like my friends, like
yes.
you feel so close to them.
Yeah, like it's like you and I both have the love of, like, speaking of Friends, the TV show Friends.
I love Friends, and I've gotten in this with quite a few people.
I know, I've witnessed this between you and Josh when we were waiting to film one day. You guys got into was like knockdown drag out about Friends. It was hilarious. I enjoy it. Is it like, it would be very different if it was made today. That is for sure. And
it would be so different if it was made today. Different. Yes, it would be a completely different show. It would be great in different ways. The writers, you know, like so many factors. I'm sorry, go on.
No. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't 100% hold up, but it's like a warm blanket, like you just wrap it around yourself because it's from that time, you're younger. It's like the nostalgia factor. I don't know if you've, over the past year, like you were talking about rewatching things that watched when you were younger. I feel like over the past year, I've done that. Around Christmas, I was looking for a ceramic Christmas tree because I had one as a kid, and I really just wanted one in my apartment because I couldn't go home and see my family, and I just wanted this tree to have. And so I got a ceramic Christmas tree. I was like, where am I going to put it in my New York apartment? But I made it work because I just needed that. It was like a little hug. And so I think that's what these TV shows or movies, they're like, the hugs. They're like a warm blanket, a hug. Yeah.
I agree. I 100% agree. I 100% agree.
Yeah. I mean, I'll cringe when Fat Monica comes on, but I enjoy the show.
It's so funny because I recently had this conversation with Abby Rose Morris over at the More Than Tracy Turnblad podcast, which is awesome. And if you're not checking her out, you need to. I'll put a link down below. It's so interesting because, we were talking about Fat Monica and she was talking about how it was hurtful directly to her. And I was like, wait a minute, you were hurt when you watched it? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, okay, go on. Because like, and maybe it's just because it's definitely because of all the factors that have created me as a human being versus someone else. So like me watching it, I'm not hurt by it. I'm like, this just doesn't age well. You guys wouldn't be able to. Oh, no. But then I also see Courtney Cox having so much fun in this costume and really just like serving this character. And like, yes, there's the fat joke. And it's like, do we really need that? Do we need to make Chandler a big dick like this? Yeah, but then he also does end up with her and he does fall in love with her. Would he love her if she got fat? And that was one of the storylines of like, and so I don't know. But then it's like, am I justifying for my abusive boyfriend? Like, is that what it is?
Yeah.
This is therapy. Is that what it is?
I don't know. I will say, because I've gone on a journey too since that time, and I've been fat for most of my life. So I was fat when I watched Friends.
Me too.
And I remember at the time, I didn't have an issue with it.
I didn't either.
I didn't have a problem with it. But watching it now, I'm like, oh, like it is kind of cringy. And I cringe anytime I see an actor put on a fat suit.
I got real annoyed. Have you ever watched Mom?
I have not watched Mom.
I really feel like you would enjoy it. I think it's a terrific show. Allison Janney and Anna Faris,
great.
Just the whole cast, just really, really great. But they decided during season 4 to put Jamie Presley in a fat suit to make her fat for the season. And they just made so many fat jokes about her. And my number one question, because this was recent, this was like 2 years ago. And my number one question in my head when I watched this was, how many guys were in this room? How many guys are writers on this show? How many women were like, because I figured because of the writing and it's so female centric, I figured the room was all women writing.
Yeah.
But not based. It was weird.
My favorite game to play is, did a man write this or did a woman write this? It's usually pretty evident. Pretty easily.
Yeah.
If it was a man or a woman. Sometimes I'm surprised, but you can usually tell.
And I guess like the thing I just don't get is, especially on a show that's so good as a comedy, and why take one of the, and I get it, she was vain, so of course they take her vanity away. Okay, so you make her fat. The fat suit that they gave her, the neck was just ridiculous. If she got fat, terrible. She wouldn't look like that. She wouldn't have looked like that.
Do you follow what is her name, Rosie Blair? I believe her handle on Instagram is
yeah.
She does this thing on TikTok. I'm not on TikTok, but she reposted on Instagram where it's like fat characters on TV shows and movies. And she will like rate the fat suits because there are so many of them and how terrible they are. And she will break it down. It's very funny. I highly recommend.
I've seen those. They're, for everyone out there, check those out. Those are really funny. I totally agree. yeah, it's such a weird thing.
Especially recent. I mean, it feels like it's one of those things that we're on the edge of seeing change with it, but it's still such an acceptable thing to do. But it's such a lazy writing. It's lazy jokes. It's stereotypical. It's boring. Like, we've seen it all. Oh no, she's vain. Let's make her fat. Ha ha. Come on. You're more creative than that.
Yes. And I almost challenge them to do the same, make her fat, but then also make her look fabulous, but then also figure out a way to still cut her legs off. You know, like there still can be.
There could be a whole way. Yeah. I mean, there's tons of ways that you could take someone that's vain and make them, because it doesn't, just because you're fat doesn't mean that you're not beautiful, that you're not still beautiful, that you're not still living your best life, that you're not still getting laid or whatever her thing is, or whatever she was worried about. So yeah, it's just
but they do that. It's so linear. They make it so linear sometimes, and maybe you're right. It is just the lazy writing. Okay.
It's that box. It's that box.
It is that box. Okay. So everyone, that has been our little list. So what'd you think of the episode? It's done. It was fun, right? Do me a favor. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and go to the social media stuff. Tell us what you thought. Rate us on iTunes. If you rate us on iTunes, we'll actually show up so people can see us. How exciting! Let's spread this message, especially for all these incredible performers who are coming on this podcast. Their stories need to be heard, and your story needs to be heard. So please send me a message, comment, like, subscribe. I want to hear what you have to say. And if you're an epic performer out there too, you need to send me a message. Go ahead, DM me, Eff Your Fears Podcast. Can't wait to hear from you.